some of them, like sensitivity is okay, like in our very long adaptation or like evolutionary history, greater levels of sensitivity to natural conditions is what was more like competitive, is what was more advantageous for the entire community, because those specific individuals who had greater amounts of sensitivity to the like something like, okay, this water pressure is not right, okay, like these shoes that everyone is wearing, they don't feel good. um like what else? Like the material, like everyone is just using these like handheld flints that are actually injuring people's like hand joints, because it's applying it's applying the force of lighting a flint in an unnatural direction. Okay, so that's like, we want to be like, okay, there's like aerodynamic, there's like pyrodynamic, okay, there's geodynamic, there's hydrodynamic. And we're trying, the most sensitive people are aware of these dynamics, and are very sensitive for creative purposes, for um, the purpose of something that even doesn't even have to do with just flat out survival, but something that has gone beyond survival, and that is considered to be the genius of being a human. So again, I'll say we can talk about privilege, and I think we should actually be talking about how we are all disadvantaged by people who are making profit off of us, and how we are all um aware that certain people should be paid for their labor, and they're not getting paid for their labor. And because they're not getting paid for their labor and it's legal, it's feeding into a problem. People call it the school to prison pipeline. That's what it's called, the school to prison pipeline. And that is the reason why that like is because people are not getting paid for their labor. People are people are not like people are just not getting paid. People like items are getting paid for without thinking about, okay, is the person who made the item getting paid, is the person who sourced the item getting paid, that like your phone technology, is the child, did the child who okay, because so, like technology companies are relying on the small hands of children to go and literally go into like these very unsafe, like caving in conditions where people are dying, children are dying, not getting paid, or not getting paid, but you're paying for a phone. And so that child could have got paid, but because you're paying for a phone and you're not paying a child, the child is simply not getting paid. So that's disadvantage. That's not that's something that is an opposite conversation from dividing ourselves by privilege. We are all unified by disadvantage. Why? Because we are all naturally sensitive geniuses. You genius, okay? Okay. So there are people of color, and there are different ways to use that term. There are white people. Um, And there are different ways to use that term. There are black people, there are different ways to use that term. Um, because in reality, um, it doesn't matter what a a racial category is. A racial category is a mental classification that doesn't actually necessarily have to do with color. What is color? Color is true that there are three primary colors that are red, blue, and yellow, and uh, human skin tones are not actually either red, blue, or yellow, but rather what's in between the three of those. So there are three other colors that are in between red, um, and those would be green, orange, and purple. So green, orange, and purple are actually it doesn't matter what mental racial category anyone wants to put themselves in, or or be that nationality. Um, that's like a political category, but regardless, everyone falls into something like that. And so, being as that's true across the entire globe, no matter where someone lives, pretty much, the fact that that trait has been maintained of having people in the population that create good health. So people who have it's a condition where people can see more colors than other people. And so those people actually the adaptation of that, it's a rare trait that primarily only women have. Let me look it up. And the reason for it is that they can see very minute changes in other people's skin tones that actually would indicate to them that someone is not feeling very well, or someone may be infectious, um, or yada yada. Someone may be dealing with this condition or that condition. But it's actually here, let me go into my browser. Women who see extra colors. It's called tetrachromacy. So, like I was just saying, there's there's the three um like a triaxial kind of like primary color, and then there are people who instead of seeing it in that three, they actually have a fourth um like they have an ability to see more than Um, it's called supervision, literally. It's a rare genetic phenomenon that is believed to only affect females. Up to 12% of women worldwide. So that's what I'm saying, worldwide. The reason why a trait like tetrachromacy has been maintained worldwide, no matter where people have gone, is because that same trait of having different undertones in the skin. So the that's actually information about immune system. So there are several imperceptible things that contribute to people, regardless of gender, um, being attracted to certain other people, be they friends or maybe specific family members that they prefer to be around. And definitely specifically romantic partners who people get attracted to their romantic partner based on these imperceptible things that are sensory, including skin undertone, including, like I said, that orange, purple, green. Someone may be in those, in that category. And there's also like smell. So when we're attracted to someone based on smell, that is linked to forming a memory about that person, so that then that begins like, oh, I want to see that person again. If you like the smell the first time, that is linked to immune system. So people who have the most different type of immune system from another person, and again, like I said, it has absolutely nothing to do with this mental, racial, or political category of nationality or race. This could be two random people worldwide. Like you can get six people, three males, three females, and then or it doesn't even have to be like that. Like it could be just you could take like a random subset of people from anywhere in the world, and they're going to be attracted romantically to someone based on immune system, and that is I'm pretty sure that still is true even when we're discussing non fecund like pairings. And what I mean by that is that like pairings that um, don't actually have fertility. So that would be a female female pairing or male male pairing, romantic pairing. That still applies. So, like immune system, it's interesting how people get attracted to each other, but also how something like queerness is a response to environmental changes that have impacted our immune systems. and how we become attracted to other people based on immune system markers, like I said, things like um, undertones and um, the sound of someone's voice and but like imperceptible things that most people are not really aware of. So, anywho, I'm gonna keep going on now. So we've cleared some of that up, how there are really these traits that are just ubiquitous and universal to the entire global population of humans, which is really cool. Um, okay, so then you get things. So then we there's a problem, right? There's a major problem, and um, I would say like it's like what exactly is the tracing the root of this problem? I would say probably has to do with um lives like the cattle industry, what people want to call the cattle industry. I mean, there was another industry called the chattel industry. So it doesn't matter what animal it is. But when animals are being kept, and that, I mean, I'm saying in the entire, when any organism that is on this planet that is just as susceptible to the moon and the sun, um, just as bright and brilliant as any other body on the planet, just according to the how the moon and the sun, how we're all moving together. Moo. But that is like I would say that is an initial thing where I mean, did someone tie someone else up first, or did someone tie an animal up first? It's difficult to say where that began. There's a difference between keeping enclosures that then became enclosures for humans. So we can trace how we treated like our treatment, and I say our, I mean ancestors, like how ancestors treated um the bodies. And like I said, there's so many imperceptible things that it's when I say imperceptible, I mean it's not necessarily people make this when a social group of people are making a decision, it's almost like no one is thinking. It always goes into like there's gonna be there's like a power hierarchy, right? And I mean it used to be that like we can think about something like divine right. Okay, so like divine right, like let's say like all these like Chinese dynasties, like China is the like longest surviving polity like country in the entire globe. Like they have been China has been together as like China for such a long time, like so many dynasties. A lot of that has to do with something called divine right. So that is making the decision instead of having a like okay, five people are going to vote about how we're gonna like what like who makes the decision to be like to look at an animal, a wild animal, and be like okay, rather than just eating it right now, actually like we're gonna like there's a difference between going with the animal versus like saying okay, no, we're actually gonna like enclose it enclose it. And then it became okay, like enclosing people. So did people enclose people first, or did then people try it and then enclosed people with who were enclosed then tried to enclose other animals with them? That led to diseases, so viruses and stuff like that. So again, like let's go back to like this idea of divine right, right? People would use things like um basically there are indicators of I should say like destiny basically. And like people have either been very upset about it, but in many places in the world there have actually been like very long running um like uh, hierarchies that are based on something that was considered by the people to be fair. So, and the people considered something like divine right to be fair because it was quite literally a something that they considered to be supernatural or paranormal forces to make clear indications that okay, yeah, like this is not about fairness. This is about accuracy. This is about like, okay, it's being indicated to like everyone, like no one can deny that so and so individual um is clearly being supported by like in ways that are not even that can't be competed with. Like there's like it can't be discounted. It can't be denied. So, for example, in the long history of China, there have been multiple leaders, and not only China, but all sorts of tribes around the world. Um, People have relied on prophesying. So, a lot of Roman and Greek leadership was like that. If you take like a lot of Native American tribes and also African tribes, look at South American and then also African tribes. If you look at tribes in like nomadic tribes in Eurasia, a lot of it is also even nowadays it's subtle, but it does have it's this sort of same idea of divine right or prophesying who's going to be the next leader. And then people would try and do, I'm not trying to say, people try and do things to alter what is prophesized or what has been oracled, but it's not quite like that. Like it's typically in a lot of mythology that was recorded regarding matters of auguring and prophesying and destiny and fate and all that sort of thing. Much of what is recorded in what we consider to be mythology is that it often does not work out for the people in favor of the people who try and stop it because it's gonna happen anyway. So, um, yeah. So let's talk about what is privilege. Okay, what exactly is privilege? So, white privilege is this, and then there's also you can slap any like privilege is a noun, so you can add any adjective in front of it. You could say, like I said, there's that like it wouldn't you see, but it doesn't make sense. This is how it's like in my mind, white privilege is instantly debunked with like it's like this like orange, green, purple. It doesn't matter what um doesn't matter what level of what that like what pigmentation what quantity of pigmentation is in the skin. This actually it's like orange, purple, or green. That has nothing to do with what country you live in. That has nothing to do with what zip code you live in. Um, it's random. It's very random. So you can't really be like, okay, like what is purple privilege? What is orange privilege? What is green privilege? It's kind of like it's a little nonsensical when I put it that way, right? So I consider the idea. So we can say, okay, let's strip off any kind of adjective you want to put in front of privilege. But we can, but it's like, okay, is privilege unfair? Is there fair privilege? Is there unfair privilege? Well, the most advantaged people in this world are not, maybe not who you think they might be. The best advantage that an individual could have is to have access, not access to the presence, the full presence and space of their community, and that includes their parents. So even people who have single parents, you could say people who have single parents or people who are orphans. Um, but even someone who has a single parent, let's say they only have their mom. Let's say someone has a single mom. Let's just strip it back and say, okay, someone is with only their mom, okay? So a lot of people in the globe are, that's the case. Okay, some of those people are going to be more advantaged than other people simply by being breastfed. Simple and it's not actually about being breastfed, simply by not being bottle fed. So the people are advantaged. It's not that people are advantaged, people are disadvantaged. So that's actually like when we think about something like privilege, we can think about how there are there is a larger like profitable disadvantage like strategy. So there's a strategy for people to make profit um by disadvantaging other people. So I'll explain to you the horrifying consequences of the bottle feeding industry, and it's incredible that that other animals are being bottle fed by humans. So it's like there are in America there like in the cattle industry there are cows who people drink the milk of cows. Those cows are being bottle fed. Those cows are not actually drinking milk directly with their mom. Um, and that is disadvantaging an animal. Um, like there's only disadvantage to being bottled, to altering what is um an evolutionary advantage. So the evolutionary it's not even advantage. That's the thing. There's only disadvantage that is thrown in the face of adaptation. So I'll explain what the adaptation of all mammals. It doesn't matter if a mammal is walking upright or not. All mammals have the adaptation to suckle. Suckling is very important for teeth development, for lip development, for facial development, developing really important neck muscles, important breathing muscles. So all mammal infants have, and I'm not sure if it's all, but I'll say human infants, and I'm pretty sure it's all mammals, that this is a mammalian adaptation, that when mammalian infants are breast suckling, they, unlike an adult who's not a breastfeeder, they can actually breathe in and out independently of drinking. So that is something that's rare, and that goes away once someone is out of infancy. Once a mammal is no longer an infant, that trait stops. But that's an important trait that is uh, just one part of developing the breathing mechanisms, like all the ways that we breathe. Um, and then that goes into learning how to speak, learning how to like project the voice without yelling, learning how to and that's also connected with like things like ear infections. Someone's being bottle fed and the sinus pressure. So sinus pressure is incredibly it's all a very concerted effort. Okay. It's very concerted on both sides. The disadvantaging of this because this is a very concerted effort of um while one thing is going on with like breathing or suckling, okay, there are other developments that are very important for an infant, like starting to lift the head. But there's like a constancy that has apps that entirely has to do with suckling. Suckling is not what happens when someone is bottle fed. A baby can't suckle on plastic. Plastic cannot be suckled. What is actually being suckled, like there are different gravitate, like there's a different pull when from a nipple that is not plastic. Okay, so even the fact that they call it nipple, I remember when they made it illegal for non-dairy milk not to be called milk. I think it should be the same, where a plastic nipple is, it's illegal to call it a nipple because that is incredibly misleading. It's nothing like nipple. Okay, when an infant is can't even lift its head, but then once it can lift its head, it's still pretty much doing, there's that constancy. And also the other thing is that an infant is not using begins by not using its hands. Like it might lay its hand there on someone's chest, but overall, a baby is not exerting their back muscles. So infants who are bottle fed and then they learn to hold the bottle themselves. Imagine lifting an entire 200-pound woman who is producing breast milk and lifting that entire 200-pound woman to to get the milk into the throat. That's you could like it's like that's not the way it goes. But that's the different mechanic of being bottle fed. Being bottle fed is it warps and it disadvantages an entire process that is um, an adaptation to the exact gravity of Earth, the exact gravity of the moon, gravitational pressures of the moon, the exact um, air pressure that the atmosphere that we're dealing with the atmosphere. So disrupting that process is only going to bring disadvantage. That doesn't matter whether you have a single mom or not, right? A single mom in one place may be not like recommended to use a plastic nipple, but the thing like so this is where disadvantaging comes in. Um, this is about profit. Okay, so profit happens when it's actually commodity that is being paid for, and it's not labor that's being paid for. And there's a reason for that. The reason is because there's still what is called unpaid labor. Okay, so if if there would be no more profit, okay, if things weren't sold like in an itemized way, if it was actually about the entire understanding that, okay, let's say I go and buy a an orange, okay, the person I'm not paying for just that one person's labor. I'm paying for the transportation labor. I'm paying for the cashier. I'm paying for the farmer. I'm paying for the farmhand, the person who organizes the labor of the farm, and then the people who, and then the person, the farmhand who who collected the orange or picked up the orange from the ground. That is not inherently clear when it's just like, okay, the price of the orange could either increase or decrease. And I'm only thinking about, oh my goodness, how expensive is this orange? How cheap can I get this orange? Well, that's not really a that how cheap can I get mindset is not conducive to that is that's disadvantaging. So if we instead were thinking, okay, well, I'm paying the best price because I'm being paid for my labor, whatever that labor may be. The person who plucked the orange, they're going to get I'm paying for that labor. I'm not paying for like a commodity. I'm paying for an action because at the end of the day, it's a person getting paid. It's like I'm not paying the orange, right? I'm not paying the car, right? But like that's like when we're like buying gas, it's like are we no, like we're paying for labor. The entire so many industries would be different as far as sourcing of materials go. Like this whole thing could have gone differently if we were actually not paying for bodies. Okay, how much does a pig cost? Okay, that's paying for a body. How much does a chicken cost? That's paying for a body. That's not paying for labor. Labor is okay, someone is taking care of that animal. And if we were paying for labor instead of how cheap can I buy that chicken, it would be a different story of, oh, you know, what is the most natural way to feed a chicken without what is the best way to do the labor? And when I say best, I mean what is the most accurate way to do the labor of recreating natural conditions? Recreating natural conditions, a plastic nipple, that it should be illegal to call that a nipple. That's not recreating natural conditions. There's like it's a specifically disadvantaging the animal to keep the animal like the way we treated animals is not how we're being treated. Okay, so now let's talk about like okay, so this is I've been talking long enough for some people. I've been speaking long enough about what I was talking about, and so now I'm gonna start talking about medical profit. So, shoe wear. Okay, I'm wearing my house slippers right now. Do you see that? There's no stitching in there. There's no stitching in there. And what I do is I fold over a piece of leather and then I put the middle part of the strap over the base of my toes. So at the bottom of my toes, and then I wrap it over so that the um outside the big toe part, the inside of my foot where the big toe is underneath. And then I wrap it and then it can be tied around the ankle with a long enough strap. It can be tied around the ankle and it's perfectly safe to walk in. Perfectly safe to walk in, and it's not going to be causing all the entire body problems that are like feeding that are causing some people to be very hungry, actually, very hungry. So, like, there's an incredible amount of medical profit being made in America. If we take something like childbirth, right? The way someone is born, most parts of the world, people aren't born in hospitals. Most places in the world, people are not born in hospitals. Most places in the world, like, people breastfeed. And the health outcomes there are different, regardless of the fact of a difference in diet and access to clean water. So there are all sorts of like just because someone is living in a place, even having access to clean water, not clean water is not fresh water. What do I mean by that is like turning on a faucet, it's like getting sprayed with a hose. Okay, standing under a shower is literally pressurized water that people are flinching from. People get into the water and they brace for how cold it is. Okay, people are getting hit with like they're getting hosed in the shower. It's not like it's like, and then it's like, oh, why do so many people have like back problems? Why do so many people have neck problems? Because people are sensitive